Welcome back to Gaelic Games Fan TV. Kilkenny 125, Clare 122. Kilkenny are back in the All-Ireland final once again. And what a crazy, crazy game this was from start to finish. Back and forth. Kilkenny obviously looking by far the better side in the first half, leading by 5 points at half-time. And Clare obviously needing a big performance going into the second half. They obviously got that. Like Ian Galvin, who came on, made a huge difference. Really changed the course of the game from a Clare perspective. Tony Kelly started getting more in the game. Mark Rogers, Shane O'Donnell was outstanding, and it looked like it was going Clare's way. But Kilkenny just have this way. They just have this thing about them where they do not lie down. They do not back down. They just always seem to find a way. Like they always just seem to find a way. And like that's the thing with Kilkenny is that like so many times in championship history, I can remember times where Kilkenny looked on the ropes. Kilkenny looked beaten. But yet they'll find a way, they'll find an answer. They're almost even more dangerous when they're on the ropes because they just have this way of hitting you back when you don't see it. Like they did that against Galway in the Leinster final, and they did that in this game as well. Like after Clare outscored Kilkenny 7 points to 2 for the opening 10 to 15 minutes of the second half. And it was one-way traffic. It was all Clare. They were winning the puck outs. John Conlon was outstanding. Adam Hogan was doing a brilliant job as well. Conor Cleary, excellent. And it looked like it was only going to go one way. But then Rory Hayes gets caught in possession by TJ Reid, sets up Owen Cody for the goal. And the game just completely flips. The game just completely flipped right there and then. And extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary stuff from a Kilkenny perspective. They just do not lie down. They do not know when they are beaten. Even after that Shane O'Donnell goal, no panic from Kilkenny whatsoever. Stick to the game plan. Get Owen Cody, TJ Reid on the ball, their bench obviously as well, you know, likes of Pádraig Walsh, Cian Kenny who came on as well, like making a big impact. And that was the difference, wasn't it? That was the difference. And I think ultimately, like Clare, look, they can definitely, like obviously seen online, a lot of Clare fans not happy with the referee Colm Lyons. And I think he did make a lot of soft calls. There were a lot of soft frees. I think he gave soft frees both ways, if I'm being honest. Obviously that goal, the ref that Colm Lyons didn't allow the advantage for. Like, in some ways, like I can understand Clare fans' frustration, but like when you actually look at it, like obviously the ball's played in after the free, and Hugh Lawler goes to catch the ball, and it looks like he makes a clean catch. He actually does make a clean catch, so the ref blows the whistle, and you can understand why the ref blows the whistle because then there was no advantage. But what ends up happening is Hugh Lawler drops the ball straight after he catches it, and then Clare play on, put the ball in the back of the net. The Kilkenny players had stopped playing. You know, I don't think the goalkeeper stopped playing, but the Kilkenny players had stopped playing because of obviously the referee had blown his whistle. So it was just one of them. Like, it's a hard one. Like, you could say the referee should have allowed it more develop and he should have waited for Hugh Lawler to bring the ball out. But at the same time, you know, you want referees to be quick with these decisions because you want the game to flow and you want the game to move. So it was just one of those odd circumstances, and you could understand Clare's frustration with the fact that goal wasn't given, but at the same time, it just is what it is. It is what it is. And look, would Clare have won the game if that ball goes in the back of the net? I'm not even entirely sure that they would have, because I think Kilkenny would have found an answer. Kilkenny seemed to almost raise their levels when, you know, Clare would have big moments in the game. Like they went 2 points in front. Kilkenny responded with 1-2 without reply. And then Shane O'Donnell gets that goal, and Kilkenny just, you know, kicked on after that. And that's just the difference, isn't it, with Kilkenny, in my opinion. But look, yeah, the ref probably made a few poor decisions. I think in a game of hurling, you know, with the level, the intensity that this game is played at, the ref is always going to get a few things wrong. You know, and look, maybe obviously you had that Owen Cody moment where he gets dragged back, but he carries on, has the chance to score the goal. Big save, obviously, from Ava Quilligan. Ref does call that back. So it's one of them. It's, you know, I can understand Clare fans' frustrations, but ultimately, I think it is what it is. In my opinion, I think the ref, like, he made bad decisions both ways, so I don't think he necessarily favoured one team more than the other, in my opinion. But there we go. And Clare, like, I think they missed Aidan McCarthy. They missed Aidan McCarthy hugely. Like, I think probably where this game was actually won and lost, in my opinion, was, so if Aidan McCarthy's there, he's the man taking the frees. He's the man taking the 65s. He's the man who's on the ball, making things happen, or, taking the 65s, the frees. Tony Kelly wasn't on the frees. I'm not entirely sure why that was the case. He took a few, but he wasn't predominantly on them. So you give Mark Rogers, young lad, I think I heard maybe one of his first games in Croke Park. I think he might have played last year. All Ireland semi-finals in Croke Park. Big game, big occasion, and he did miss a few. He missed a few chances. He missed a few frees, a couple of sideline cuts. He didn't really get great connection on it. And obviously, he's a young lad, he's a young player. It's you're playing in the toughest atmosphere that there is in Croke Park, and it's very, very tough for any player to deal with that. But I think the difference was he was missing a few, and TJ Reid just nailed them. He nailed almost every free. And Kilkenny in general were just that bit better in front of goal. They, in the key moments in the game, the start of the game, Kilkenny didn't hit a wide up until the 28th minute. Clare had hit 7 wides at that point. And Kilkenny were clinical. They were sharper. They were quicker. Clare obviously playing a sweeper in there. They obviously made that change at half-time, changed it up, went man-to-man, 15 on 15. And you see when Clare played that way, like, they were far better. And maybe they should have played that way from the start, because then they could have possibly, have been in a much healthier position going into the second half. But yeah, from a Clare perspective, they just, I don't know what it is. They're just missing something, aren't they? And I think Kilkenny just have this knack. They do it with almost every team, and they're just never beaten. They always seem to find a way. And TJ Reid, like, what an outstanding performance from him. Becomes the top scorer in the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship in the history of the competition. He scored 12 points in total. Obviously, a lot of them from place balls. But for me, like, I know Owen Cody wins man of the match, and obviously his goal, is what is the difference on the day. But I thought TJ Reid was phenomenal. I mean, not just his scoring, but, like, he was playing almost as a centre-back at times. He was getting back. He was tracking back. He was making challenges. He obviously dispossessed Rory Hayes for the goal and then set up Owen Cody. He was absolutely phenomenal. It was a top class performance from TJ Reid. It really, really was. And obviously, I was watching the coverage on the BBC, and they were saying at halftime, is TJ Reid the greatest hurler of all time? And look, I think Henry Shefflin, look, he's one of the, in my opinion, I think he is the GOAT. But I think TJ Reid, like, he's there, isn't he? He's there, and he's probably done it in a, Henry Shefflin was probably, he was the greatest in my opinion, but he was in a better Kilkenny team, and the level of opposition, there was no team like Limerick around back then, do you know that way? But, like, so TJ Reid's probably done it in a side that's not as good as that Kilkenny team. But yeah, he was phenomenal. Really, Adrian Mullen was excellent as well. Some wonderful flicks and everything else. Some great stick work. 2 points from him. He was outstanding. Great addition. Paddy Deegan was very good. David Blanchfield, brilliant. And Owen Murphy. What about that save at the end to turn it onto the bar? Absolutely extraordinary stuff. Made a couple of big saves. Cleared a couple of goal chances. That they could have got. Conor Fogarty made a big clearance as well in the first half. And yeah, that probably the difference in the end. And, Kilkenny just have this knack. And again, they found it. And as for Clare, probably just decision-making, I think, has let them down. And I think that's probably the difference that cost them against Limerick and at times in this game as well. Like, even at the end there, with Mark Rogers standing over that free, he decides to absolutely hammer the ball and lash it. He should have just lifted it in. It would have been very chaotic. You never know where it's far more likely you get a goal from that rather than just, completely shooting from point blank range. So yeah, I think ultimately for Clare, the loss of Aidan McCarthy was huge. Tactics in the first half definitely let them down. And Kilkenny were far more clinical. And look, Kilkenny have been there. They've done it. I know it's a long time since they won an All-Ireland, obviously now, long time by Kilkenny standards. Go back since, 2015. But Kilkenny have been there in big All-Ireland semi-finals, big moments. How many times down the years do they get, dramatic late goals and everything else? They're just such a, they're so brilliant at that. They really, really are. NP reaction to Lerwick. No point reaction to Limerick versus Galway because we were too strong. Yeah, I was just out last night, my man. I was I was at a function, so unfortunately I didn't get to do a match reaction. But look, Limerick were outstanding. I watched the game and Limerick were brilliant, weren't they? I mean, first half, probably in some ways similar to Clare, like quite poor, like they couldn't really settle into it. But then in the second half, they just rose into another level. And the way Limerick can just shift through the gears, go from playing quite poorly to then just turn it on. And Galway were very poor in the second half. I think 4 points in the second half, but Limerick were outstanding, absolutely outstanding, in fairness. But there we go. If you said Limerick and Kilkenny would meet in back-to-back finals, I wouldn't disagree, says Patrick. Yeah, look, I mean, it is the two best teams in the country. And look, it's the same final again. Like, do we want to see the same finals? Probably not, but at the same time, it's the two best teams, and it's going to be an absolute rip-roaring game, and it's really going to go down to the wire, like it did last year. I expect nothing different to what I seen last year. And, look, I think if you could argue if Limerick play, the same way they did against Galway at times, Kilkenny could beat them. But then you'd say at the same time, Kilkenny have this knack, as we've said before, of turning it on in those moments. But Limerick are the type of team that won't allow that to happen. They will punish you. There was moments where Clare probably could have kicked on and won this game, and they just didn't quite take those opportunities. Limerick will take those chances, and that's the difference. And no, look, hugely excited for that final. It's going to be an absolute cracking game. If tickets go on general sale like they did last year, I'll 100% be all over it. Try get a ticket, go to the game, because I've never seen this Limerick team in the flesh. Would you believe? I really, really want to go see them play, see them in the flesh. And yeah, quality side. And Kilkenny as well. I mean, absolutely outstanding stuff from them at times in this match. Yonder says, what a performance from TJ Reid. Seemed to be everywhere. Must be a contender for greatest hurler of all time. He definitely is a contender. No doubt about it. Whether he is, like, you go back to the greats of, Christy Ring and Henry Shefflin, Jimmy Doyle, these lads, you go back to the all-time greats, and TJ Reid's in the conversation. He 100% is in the conversation. Obviously, Owen Kelly as well, another all-time great. But I think, TJ Reid he's there. He's there. And look, I suppose, you had a few more All-Irelands. You win the All-Ireland this year. I think there's a case for him, because he's done it in two different generations as such, or he's done it in different teams, you'd say. So yeah, absolutely outstanding player. And yeah, Kilkenny in general were very, very good. I mean, Owen Cody again, 1-5. And the thing about Kilkenny is that when the going gets tough with them, they get going. They say when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And boy, word, they did. They did. And even when they were under the cosh, under pressure, they stood up and delivered. And yeah, for Clare, like, tough one to take. Ultimately, tough defeat for them. Decision making has just cost them. They're not a million miles away. I think they are the third best team in the country, you would say. But I think, look, you'd imagine Brian Lohan stays on. Obviously there's a couple of younger players like Adam Hogan and Mark Rogers, who've made the breakthrough in the last couple of seasons. You'd imagine they'll grow, they'll become better. Aidan McCarthy, hopefully you have him back for a semi-final. I think obviously you will have him back by then, of course, if you're in an All-Ireland semi-final. But if you can keep your key players fit, be huge. But like, that's the thing, like Limerick, no Declan Hannon, no Sean Finn. They're missing players. Kilkenny missing Adrian Mullen for large chunks of the season. They still find a way. Whereas Clare, you take key players out of their team, and you see the miss. You see the gap in the side, and whereas Kilkenny were nail and freeze and were so clinical in front of goal, Clare were at times missing those chances that Kilkenny were gobbling up, and I think ultimately that was the big difference. Gavin says hurling's very entertaining, to be fair, but hard to see the ball at times and if it's a goal or not. Yeah, I suppose there's a lot going on. And obviously it is tough for the referee, in fairness, and tough for everyone. But yeah, it was cracking game, and hugely excited for the final. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. We'll be going live at 8 o'clock tonight with Matthew Hurley from the Gaelic Statsman to obviously review the weekend's football action, or weekend's hurling action, but we will obviously be discussing the All-Ireland minor final, which took place earlier. Some of the camogie action we'll discuss as well, and maybe some other sort of news stories and everything else if people want to see, or if people want us to discuss them. So yeah, leave a like, subscribe, and we will speak to you all then.